Hello, lovely people. I'm back, kind of. I'm trying to put the phone on a stand because, as you maybe noticed in the first video, I like to talk with my hands a lot. And there we go. Now I have hands. And I'm also wearing a sweatshirt that says mother, and there's a reason for that. And this is a cat. Her name is Gooseberry, and she's decided to be in the video. This is probably typical of how all my videos are going to go, which is the camera falling over and me not knowing what I'm doing and having terrible sound and a cat. So that's just a preview of every video or podcast that I'm going to make from here on out. So with that said, I had a point to this that I've now entirely forgotten. I did take my medication this morning, but it doesn't seem to be working today, which happens sometimes when I'm really tired. So that's my own fault. So that said, right, I was starting a podcast. I did that day before yesterday, I think, or no, it was a couple days ago. I don't know what day it is. It's Friday. And basically, then I got really excited because Jeannie Dietrich said that she would be a guest on the podcast. And then I started asking other people, hey, will you be on my new podcast? You know, this thing about being able to use my hands was totally theoretical and incorrect. So basically, there, now I have hands again. And probably as soon as I wave them around, the phone's going to fall over. I'll get this together eventually, maybe. So how about I move it so people can see me? Yay. Okay, look, now I have hands and you can see my face. We're making progress. So back to my story. So basically, I got really excited, which if you know me, that's pretty much, I'm either really upset or I'm reading a book or I'm really excited. There's not like a middle ground setting. I just don't have one. Like if I seem really calm, I'm just pretending. So either, yeah, really upset, really upset, or really excited is like the two settings, or reading a book is the other one. Okay, so that said, I got really excited about my new podcast that I started sometime recently, and I got really excited that Jeannie said yes. So then I was like, cool, who else do I know that's neat that I could ask to be on my podcast? So I started asking other people, and some of them said yes because they're awesome, and some of them said no because, I don't know, they're also awesome but not on my show. So basically, Chris Brogan said no. Well, actually, he didn't say no because I didn't ask him. I told him he was going to be on my show later, and I pretty much knew he wasn't going to be on my show. So basically, he doesn't like being told what to do. I know that. So basically, I decided to ban him from my show. And then I thought, well, it'll be really cool if I ban other people that say no. So I did that today, and I started my banned from my podcast list. So that's up on Substack, and you can go view that and see if you're on there or not. But basically, it doesn't mean I don't like you. It just means you don't want to be on my show, or I don't want you to be on my show because I'm mad at you or something. I don't know. So, or I just think it's funny. So that happened. I started the bans list. That's new. And that's a whole thing. And then I did get some more guests, so that's coming up. And Irvin is actually supposedly going to be my co-host, although after viewing all the stuff I've been doing, I'm not sure if he wants to stick around, but we'll see. So in theory, we're going to be recording on Monday, and not on a terrible like iPhone video with me knocking it over every 5 minutes, but like he supposedly has like microphones and things, and we're going to try to like make it a little better. But because I'm me, I just get really excited and just start, and I do it wrong, because I feel like it's better. So this is the wrong episode number 2. Wrong episode number 1 was last night. That's already posted. So basically, I forgot what I was saying again. Something about having a podcast. I remember that. I have a podcast. I remember I'm a mother. That's why I wore this shirt, because it'll remind me. So I popped in to Chris Brogan's show this morning, which it's not the Backpack Show. I forgot the new name already, but he has a show that happens on Fridays, and Carrie is his co-host, and I've popped in a couple of times, and I happened to be working from home this morning, so I put it on. And then, of course, I was completely hyper and obnoxious because my meds aren't working today. So I was harassing them. And thank you, by the way, for mentioning my new podcast on your podcast, because that's exciting. But basically, there was some confusion happening where, because I told Chris about the people I'd invited to my show, and they happened to all be our social media marketing buddies from our days doing all that crazy marketing stuff. Which, by the way, I never was a social media marketer. I'm a failed social media marketer. Like, I just followed all these people around and went to conferences and listened to them and realized that, like, they were all smarter than me. And then I went off and did other things. So I became an artist instead of a marketer. So I don't know. I mean, technically I market my artwork, but I'm really bad at it. So I am not a marketer. And second, the show is not about marketing, although I can see how you might be confused about that, Chris, because yes, the first guests that I have are my marketing friends, and they're all really good at marketing, really smart. But actually, that's not what my show is about. So, we haven't actually recorded any episodes of the show yet. So it is kind of hard for me to be really confident what the show is about. And Irvin technically has some input into that. However, what I believe the show is going to be about is about telling stories. And so that's back to the shirt. So, basically, in my family, we're all super neurodivergent, for one thing. And we tell stories a lot, and we tell stories verbally, and we repeat them a lot. And some of them we repeat ad nauseum, to the point where, like, my children roll their eyes when I'm going to tell the story. But I feel like this podcast is probably going to be about that and about stories. So it's not about marketing per se, although marketing is a form of storytelling, and many of the people in my network are really good at it and really good at telling stories. And I would really like to tell some of the stories about some of the people in my network and the things they're doing, because I know a lot of people. You're going to find this out pretty quick. And a lot of people know me. Although a lot of people are just confused about what I'm doing there. Usually, like, they're like, we know this person, we don't know what she's doing here, we don't know what she is. That's a pretty common reaction, and that's totally normal, because, like, I don't know what I'm doing either, or what I am. So basically, the show is going to be about telling stories, hopefully in a slightly more coherent fashion than the stories I'm telling today. So I thought I would kick off the whole thing by telling two of the stories that I tell ad nauseum to my children until they roll their eyes. And basically, the reason I put on the mother shirt today is because if you know me, you know that I am a mother. This is a topic that does come up a few times. I do talk about my children pretty frequently. I think they're very cool. They don't think I'm very cool. But in their defense, they've had to deal with this for a while. So basically, I'm really embarrassing to them. I try not to actively, like, embarrass them. So I try to keep the mentions, reasonable. I'm not one of those people that, like, put my children on the internet when they were kids, apart from, well, okay, I totally am. Whatever. I'm not like a person that was like a mommy blogger or something in that category. I did post pictures of my kids a fair amount, but that wasn't the point. The point is, I think I had one. I'm a mother. I tell stories. This is one of the stories that I tell them until they roll their eyes. So I'm going to tell the story of my son's birth, first of all, and then I'm going to tell the story of my daughter's birth. So on point number one, I have a son. He's pretty cool. His name is Justin. He's 19 years old now. He's a manager at Taco Bell. He speaks Spanish way better than I do, because they put him on the drive-thru, and it's amazing. And I love going to the drive-thru and, like, pretending to be a Spanish speaker, because then he switches to Spanish, and it's super amazing to hear. But that aside, my son is also in a death metal band. He has, like, a bunch of albums on Spotify. He's really neat. All of that aside, the day he was born was one of the happiest days of my life. And this is a story I tell frequently. So basically, when my son was born, I had this crazy, I was very, even more intense when I was in my 20s. And I went through a very pronounced hippie phase around the time I was getting pregnant with children. And I got really into the concept of natural childbirth and really attached to it. Like, I was into it. And also did breastfeeding for multiple years and family bed. So I was an attachment parent back when that was a thing. Carried my babies around in a sling, all of it, like would only drink organic milk. Like it was super, super intense in my 20s. Really, really sure I knew how things worked and how the world worked. And, it's funny because my kids are approaching that age and I'm watching them do this. And I'm really amused because right around then is when like life started just like dumping me on my ass on the regular until I realized that the only way I was going to learn things was the hard way, which is still how I learn things, like how not to do a podcast, for example. So basically, the night my son was born, I was into natural childbirth. I refused all medication, had the whole birth plan, like did give birth in a hospital because I'm not completely batshit, although you might doubt that down the line. But I was cognizant enough that like I wanted some safeguards in place. I didn't try to do like the home birth stuff. So I did give birth in a hospital, but I had a midwife and I used a birthing stool and like I did natural childbirth both times and I successfully had both my children without drugs and was really insistent on that and did the whole hippie natural parent thing. So the result of that is that basically I gave birth to my son and I was high as a kite. Now, obviously, I hadn't had any medications, so it wasn't that. But it turns out that the hormones from childbirth are really, really powerful. I mean, when you're pregnant, your hormones basically like rearrange your internal organs and soften your bones so that the child can pass out. Like you will learn respect for hormones very quickly if you decide to do the mother thing. I promise you. It's your body like gets rearranged and like things just happen and babies come out. It's a thing. So basically in the aftermath of having a natural childbirth, and he was born at about 6 o'clock at night. I was just like high as a kite on hormones. Like I don't think I've ever had even a drug trip that is as amazing as that. So basically, my son was born, and I just like laid him on my chest. I was trying to do the skin to skin thing because I was really into the breastfeeding, and I was like taking all his clothes off. And yeah, Justin, you were just, I'm sorry, I was like making you naked and embarrassed from the day you were born. But so I had him on my chest and he conked out because it was nighttime and he'd been born and it was traumatic. So, and then I literally just stayed up all night staring at this beautiful baby that was like the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I was high as a kite. He was the most magical creature ever to exist. And I thought he was fabulous. I still think he's fabulous, by the way. I still feel this way about him all the time. But I basically stayed up all night staring at my child. So that's story number one, the story of my son's birth. Now, as you can imagine, there's a second story to go along with this, and that's the story of my daughter's birth. So, same deal, still in my 20s, only a couple of years later, guys. And really intense birth plan, hospital, same midwife, same everything. Goes according to plan. Harmony is born. Now she's born at 7 o'clock in the morning. So already like we've got some, now when my son was born, I'm from a big Catholic Hispanic family. I've been around for a lot of births and a lot of children, but everyone in my family was born with like the really dark eyes and dark hair and, on that side at least. And basically I was used to babies like coming out looking and acting a certain way because that's what. So then I gave birth to my son, and my ex-husband number one was a white guy, and well, this baby came out and he was blonde and white and had really, really blue eyes when he was born. And I was a little confused because I was like, did you come out of me? Are you sure? Okay. But I got used to him. I thought he was awesome. So then Harmony is born, and she's born with like the full head of black hair and the really dark eyes and the dark skin. And I'm like, okay, that's the kid I was expecting the first time around. But okay, now I've got this kid. Well, she totally pulled one over on me, by the way, because all of that beautiful black hair fell out and turned blonde. So I don't know. She's always been a surprise. But so Harmony's born 7 in the morning. Justin's this beautiful little blonde thing that I stay up all night staring at, sleeping peacefully, little angel, you know. So now remember, by this time, Justin is a toddler. He's 2.5. And so dad can't stay at the hospital with me because he's got to take our toddler home to put him to bed. So I'm so overconfident because I've already done this once, and I remember the first time, and like I just stayed up all night, high as a kite, happy as everything, like, and I'm like, cool, I got this. Go home. I'm totally like know what I'm doing. I was very wrong. So she then like proceeded to scream bloody murder all night long, like a lot, like to the point where the nurses were like coming in to check on us a lot. And it was really funny because I was still doing the breastfeeding thing. So they would come in and they're like, oh, she's upset because you've taken all her clothes off. And so then the nurses were really convinced that she needed to be swaddled and that would make her stop screaming. Totally wrong. The people have been wrong about this child from the day she was born, I promise you. So they would come in and they would swaddle her, and then they would leave, and then I would take all the things back off and put her back on my chest, and she would just scream. And after like a couple hours of this, I kind of just rolled with it. I was like, all right, kid, you're mad. I can see that. Can't really do anything about it. Like I would try to like stick a boob in it to calm it down, wouldn't really do anything. I just was like, okay, I'm just gonna hold you and you're gonna scream. So she did. She screamed all night until the morning when my mother showed up. And I had one of those boppy pillows that go around for you to breastfeed on, you know. And so I, hand the pillow to my mom and I'm like, take this thing. It's screamed at me all night. I've had no sleep. I've been awake all day. I just gave birth. And my mom picks her up, and my daughter promptly goes to sleep on my mom's shoulder. It was hilarious. And I was also like, are you kidding me, kid? Why? So that's the story of my children's purse. And that is also how I learned that just because you did something the first time and it went a certain way, that doesn't mean it's going to work the next time. My children are like chalk and cheese, like they're same genes, same family. I think they both came out of me. I promise. I was there. They look alike. They sometimes talk alike. They are not alike at all. They never have been alike. And so, this is an adventure. But so that's the kind of story I expect that we'll tell on my podcast. So if you don't like that, don't listen. And also, I expect to ask people to tell their stories about things that are significant in their lives. Now, that's definitely not marketing. So just wanted to clear up that confusion just at the get-go. All right. So with that, I'm going to wrap because that's like 18 minutes of me talking. I can talk a lot longer than that, which is another reason why I should have a podcast. But I think we'll stop there and I'll put this up, even though it's completely wackadoodle. But, some days I'm like this. So this is just one of the days I woke up and I'm not very functional. Welcome to being neurodivergent. It's an adventure every day. So happy Pride, everyone. It is Pride Month. And I will see you on Monday, hopefully with better sound, not falling over phones and maybe cats. I don't know. But we'll see. And we'll launch this and find out what the podcast actually is about. So you'll find out with me. In the meantime, I intend to ban a lot more people. So be prepared. Bye-bye.